What's the first thing you do when you build a skyscraper? Let me give you a hint. If you said, dig a big hole and then drive steel pylons into the ground as deep as you can get them, hopefully through into bedrock, you are correct. UEFN's most important feature is something that you won't ever see unless you are building things with it. But it's there, and Epic has done such a great job of building it that it's probably too boring to talk about. But here we go anyways, in an attempt to make an interesting YouTube video about infrastructure. Have you ever been releasing software at work after everybody else went home and something went wrong on server 15 of 35? I have. I've been working in DevOps jobs for about 25 years. The jobs have had many different names, but the goal always stayed the same. Code and functionality to users that worked and did what they expected it to. Make sure the database had all the right data in it, make sure it had the right structure, make sure the queries on the database worked. Just put everything together so that it worked as expected every time. The end result always needed to be as useful as possible. Giving users working code on servers has never been easier for code that's complicated and a system as complicated as Fortnite's system is, as it is in UEFN. This diagram shows how a standard DevOps system works. Note that the UEFN infrastructure takes care of all but two pieces of it: the programming and the QA. More than that, most revision control is built around source control. Epic has built revision control, which allows you to put up to 512 megabytes of graphic data, whatever you're looking for, into the system to have versioning. It's amazing. Let's dig into the harder part of this, which is the Unreal Revision Control System, or URC. Let's get started on how to use it. Open up UEFN and load or start a test project. Your revision control settings are in a menu under Tools, Revision Control Settings. That should be set up to say Unreal Revision Control. Don't disable it by accident. Now we're going to check in changes if you have any. Hit the button to check in and you have officially used source control. This is a good thing. If you had already done this, stick around and we'll get to something you haven't. Step 1 is to add your Fortnite/bin path to your environment variables. You can find your environment variables by going to your settings and searching for env. First, we're going to set up your path variable to point to the directory URC is in. If you're not familiar with the command line interface, your path variable is what's known as an environmental variable. It tells your computer what places to look for files that can be executed as programs when you type in a command. We want the directory for Fortnite's binary code to be in this variable, so we go into the path and click Add to add a directory. Then we put something resembling this text into the box that pops up. Now we should have access to urc.exe from any command line. We're going to test that now. Click on the content folder of the project in the outliner. Now right-click and open an Explorer window here. Then shift-right-click in that Explorer window and open a PowerShell window here. Then type URC in at the PowerShell command prompt. If it throws an error, you need to go find the right directory. The error screen would look like this. Otherwise, we're set. Let me just run through a few basic commands. The first is URC project list. It will list all your projects and basic information about them. This one will be useful when you're trying to put stuff together or figure out what's going on. And now here we've got URC P snapshot list. P is an abbreviation of project in this case, and what we're going to see here is a list of the snapshots for the specific project that you're in as far as a directory goes right now. Now we're going to get a snapshot. And to get a snapshot is to roll back to the previous check-in that the snapshot represents. Now note that I have a little problem because I've got UEFN open at the same time as I'm trying to roll back to a specific snapshot. Unfortunately, you're going to have to unload the project and in many cases UEFN entirely to get the snapshot that you're looking for. You can dissect snapshots and get just a piece of them if you like, but that gets really complicated and is dangerous, as is all kinds of merging that you can do with any source control. Force release will allow you to take somebody off of your project completely because they're no longer on your team. I'm not on a team of creators, so I couldn't get it to work. I assume that it works just fine when you are on a team of creators. That brings up another good point. If you run into a problem with a specific command, you can look for help by saying something along the line, URC P force release help. And that'll give you a little bit of help on how to do it. After that, just go search the Epic forums and ask for help if things are going that badly wrong for you. The primary complexity in resource control is merging. Let's say there are 3 programmers on a project, or just one really confused one. That really confused one might do different things in different files at different times and branch his code out to test things and end up with a mess he couldn't put back together easily. Before Git, this was a standard problem encountered by large open source projects. So Linus Torvalds made Git to solve his problem. Before Git, almost all the source control solutions worked like UEFN's URC, where you check out a file exclusively. With checkout-based solutions, you lock a file so nobody else on your team can modify it. This is great for making sure nobody can mess up the core files without breaking them, but on big teams means there are times when a file is checked out and you want to make changes to it. So once you have the URC working for you and published through UEFN, you have most of the components of a standard DevOps system working for you without having to build it at all. The only thing you really don't have is an automated QA. But when that automated QA comes, I'll make a video on it, hopefully. So subscribe and we'll cover it then.